Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In this episode, bi-weekly minefield, frozen locks, demolition, and which way is the Earth's core spinning today?
Now, Lippy.
Hello.
Last episode, because it wasn't last week, was it? It was 2 weeks ago. Last episode, you used the term bi-weekly, and there was a little bit of confusion. And you were worried because you'd set up a calendar entry for bi-weekly. So I jumped on the internet and had a look at the meaning, and it says done, produced, or occurring every 2 weeks or twice a week.
How silly is that?
Well, it's consigned to the box marked next week, this week, and now midnight. Yes. Yeah. All of those cause confusion. I am all in favour of absolute dates on things.
Yeah. I think if I was saying, I would say twice a week if I wanted something that was 2 times a week.
Yes, just avoid the phrase bi-weekly completely.
And then every other week.
Every other week, yes, indeed. So we're every other week.
Yes, every other week.
The word other in there worries me slightly, but every 2 weeks, every fortnight, twice a month. Yeah, you get the picture. Anyway, I had a fun fact last episode that wasn't too much fun. It involved an aircraft being hit by lightning.
Impressive.
It was impressive. So a 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke fell 2 miles to the ground, strapped to a seat, and survived the whole experience. She spent 10 days in the Amazon jungle, then found a boat, and one of the wounds she'd been inflicted with had maggots in it. It's not very pleasant. So she tipped a bit of petrol in there to get rid of the maggots, which worked. And that's really where the story ended. So there was quite a lot of information on it. And Juliane does spend quite a bit of time going around talking to people about it. So she's quite an advocator of survival, clearly. So she got to the boat with the petrol. The returning fisherman found her, gave her proper first aid rather than pints of petrol, and used a canoe to transport her to a more inhabited island. And from there, she was airlifted to hospital. So, but there's lots of speculation about why she survived. And a couple of reasons. One is that she was actually in a seat of 3, and she was the only one on the seat, and the whole seat dropped, which offers quite a bit of wind resistance.
Yes. And
the other thing was, obviously there was a thunderstorm because of the lightning, and actually the updraft from the thunderstorm sort of lessened. Well, it was a bit denser air, so it was harder to get through. And also there was thick foliage where she landed, so that would have cushioned the blow a bit. But interestingly, 14 other passengers had survived the crash, but died whilst waiting to be rescued. So they didn't have the same survival instinct. So not a fun fact. But,
or might have been injured in a way that meant they couldn't move.
Potentially, yeah. But I'm guessing this was, if it took 10 days to get out of the crash site, then it was some fair distance. As I say, if you've got even a dodgy ankle, it's going to be hard going.
Yeah, 100%.
And also we talked about Ken Bruce departing Radio 2 and what's going to happen with Popmaster. Well, Ken Bruce is going to Greatest Hits Radio, and he's taking Popmaster with him.
Oh, so you're moving over to Greatest Hits Radio.
I'll be honest, we tend to only listen to Popmaster if we're in the car together or we're on holiday and we have the radio on. So I don't tend to listen to it during the week.
Well, at least you know where it'll be when you want to listen to it.
Exactly that. Exactly. Except it's on one of these newfangled DAB radio things.
What is that?
Yes, indeed. Well, just after the last episode, we came to yours and did a bit of bathroom demolition.
We did. That was fun and surprisingly speedy.
I was pleasantly surprised. So we had a bath, toilet and sink to remove, which I was fairly confident would come out fairly easily because I've got an angle grinder and a big hammer. So they were coming out one way or the other. The tiles worries me a lot because if they're glued to the wall really well, it's just a never-ending task. But they weren't. They were perfectly glued, and they were coming off in almost whole, some of them in 2s and 4s.
Yeah.
was really quite straightforward. Apart
Very
from just
impressive.
small injury on one finger. That was the
Oh
only thing.
no! I didn't know you had injured yourself.
Yeah, it was. I was about to call the air ambulance, but I thought
yes.
probably be okay. But the revelation was Duckboy taking over the tile removing tool and absolutely smashing it in all senses of the word.
Yes, yeah. I think he quite enjoyed it actually, getting to do some proper labour.
Yes, unfortunately, he picked an area to start, which, with hindsight, was actually quite well stuck on. It was straight onto some breeze block. So he struggled to begin with, and then after he got off about 4 or 5 tiles, he was just off. He was absolutely loving it. Flew off.
Got a very manly picture of him as well.
You do, don't you? That is particularly full-on Terminator with an SDS drill.
Yeah.
So we've been a bit sporadic with the podcast over the last, couple of months, really. I guess. And the numbering seems to have gone all awry.
How has that happened?
Yeah, we've missed number 92 somehow. I don't know how that's happened.
No.
No, so we've gone from 91 to 93. Last ones that I had in the folder where I have all the files and stuff, it ranged from 93 through to 98 for some reason.
Oh, impressive.
I completely lost my ability to write numbers. So
Count.
this is 94. So 92 is lost in time. That's never going to happen.
I have a feeling I could figure out where it went.
Oh, where's that?
I think you made the notes for an episode and then we didn't do it. And then you made
possibly.
the notes for the next episode as 93.
And then copied them. Yeah,
and didn't
that
put 92.
sounds very likely.
Oh, I'm a genius today. I've had 2 very geniusic moments. Genii moments?
Genii moments. No,
Geniuses moments.
92 is definitely disappeared off the face of the earth. But I suspect that's what it is, where we didn't do one and then got very confused. But, so if you are counting numbers, then 92 is
We've made them up.
it's a bit like in the stamp where the head's the wrong way round, or something where something's missing from a book that makes it a special and valuable edition. So it's a little bit like that, but will never exist. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we had quite cold weather. We had lots of icing up, which not too much of a problem for me because I'm now completely home-based. But we did come over to you for the bathroom exercise. The car I hadn't driven for a good week or so was so stuck with the locks. And it's an old car, and the blipper thing to open it stopped working years ago, so you have to open it with a key.
Yeah.
And obviously there must have been water or something in there, and it took 10 minutes to get in there, and a combination of de-icer and heating the key with a cigarette lighter just to try and thaw the ice out. So it's a real...
Yes, I actually have quite a funny story about icing cars and
go on then.
stuck doors. Not for myself, actually. For my boss's boss told me this. I feel like probably in confidence, but you know what?
Well, it's all anonymous.
So they have a Land Rover Defender, and they had a gym session in the morning and was up, I think they said about 6 a.m. So it was like really frozen still. Went to try and get in the car, couldn't get in the driver's side, couldn't get the door open at all. So went round, got in the passenger side and closed the door behind them. Turned the car on to start heating it or whatever. Went to get back out the car and couldn't open the passenger door again.
Oh no.
Don't know what had happened, but just couldn't get out that way. Realised they didn't have their phone on them. And although their wife was inside still, they just assumed that he assumed that his wife would have just kind of thought, oh, he's gone off to the gym and not said goodbye.
Yes.
So he started, when he was telling me the story, you could see the panic on his face. He was starting to panic that he was trapped inside the car. So he was trying everything, trying all the locks, eventually managed to get one of the windows down and climbed out the side window.
Oh no.
So that he could then go and get his phone and get back in the car and drive off to the gym.
The problem with new cars is that all the switches and stuff, they're not mechanical, they're electrical. So if you're pulling the lever inside the car, it's operating a little servo motor. And if that's iced up, despite the fact you got in through the handle, it's not the same bit.
Yeah.
So, I can see how that could happen. I think the moral of the story is take your phone absolutely everywhere with you. You never know when you're going to get stuck.
Stuck in a car.
But it amazes me we still have a problem with cars icing up in this day and age.
Yes, I've seen a lot of TikToks, because I'm allowed to go on TikTok because I'm a millennial, of people thinking it was a good idea to pour boiling water over their windscreen.
That's not
to then
idea.
de-ice it, and then 2 seconds later the whole windscreen just smashing everywhere.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I think you can get away with lukewarm water, but in my view, if you're pouring water on it, that's going to freeze somewhere else. So I'm not sure that's a great idea.
And the cold, super hot, not good for glass.
No.
Not good for skin either.
It's not good for anything, really. I've broken a couple of plates by taking something out of the fridge, something on it to heat up for lunch.
Microwave.
And then the plate's in 2 halves, so I've stopped doing that now.
Well, if you burn yourself as well, you're not meant to run it under cold water. It's meant to be lukewarm. Because it's bad for your skin where it's obviously boiling, where it's burnt, to then put it under cold water, because again, it's that shock of temperature change on your skin. So you're meant to put lukewarm water and then slowly make it colder to help soothe the burn. First aid there.
Good piece of advice there.
Thank you.
Anyway, back to the frozen locks. Back in the 80s, I had this little aerosol with a funny shaped thing on the end that you could actually put in the lock and then squeeze de-icer straight into it, which is quite good. But I'd be very keen to hear of things that you can do to stop it freezing in the first place.
Yes.
And I don't know whether it needs taking apart from the inside and lubricating with graphite rather than oil. Which
I wouldn't know.
No, I'm not entirely. Well, you should lubricate a lot with graphite and not oil for some reason. But I think the problem is when it's freezing cold and you're trying to get in the car, that's not the time to start thinking about it.
It is not, no.
So cigarette lighter on the key does work. Now, as you know, I get a bit annoyed about some things.
No, sorry. That's a shocking statement.
It is.
You get annoyed about everything.
I do get annoyed about everything. Don't be silly. One of the things that does rub me up the wrong way is the use of over and out.
Oh.
Because it's wrong. It's simply wrong. And it annoys me that people that make television programs and films don't know about it and get it right.
I think we've spoken about this very recently on the podcast.
Many, many times.
Because I'm pretty sure I managed to slip in over and out before it ended.
I think you did. Yes, I do. I think I may have cut that out, though, just now.
Rude.
Pure pettiness. Well, interesting, we started watching a series on Disney called The Orville, which is a modern-day version of Star Trek with more humour. It's a really good series. And they use the terms correctly. So
that's good.
Anyway, I was watching an old episode of The Big Bang Theory, and I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed those. They are very, very funny. And Sheldon, who knows everything, if you've not seen the series, who absolutely thinks he knows everything, is communicating with Howard on the International Space Station.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sheldon says, over and out.
He does not.
He does.
He
I
would
was
never
horrified.
say that.
That character should never say that.
Never.
No.
That is so wrong.
It is. So that's James Bond and Sheldon Cooper both fallen into the over and out trap.
Both in the bad book.
They are on the list. Boys, you are on the list.
On the naughty list.
Now, while we're talking of TV programmes, I've only seen the first episode of The Apprentice.
It doesn't get much better.
Well, this is what worries me a bit. Lots of shouting. I think it might pick up to the end, towards the end, as it tends to. But it struck me watching an old episode of Hustle, which is a series that we both enjoyed. And
we do.
And almost took it more as a how-to guide rather than entertainment.
Pipe dream.
I'd argue that Hustle is a better business programme than The Apprentice. You learn more from that.
I'd agree. Yeah.
And I know the storylines are really far-fetched. And, there's people on there that can do absolutely everything. never matter doesn't matter whatever it is, but it does show you that planning and practice and teamwork really counts when you're trying to do something difficult.
It's the difference between winning and losing.
Well, it is. And you look at The Apprentice, and it has none of those whatsoever.
Not at the moment.
No, well, they don't.
They're all just fighting for attention.
Yes, and I think, unfortunately, that's the sort of character that they get as contestants.
They go for a more of an entertainment angle now than an actual business person.
Yes, I'd completely agree with that. I think that's been the case for a long while. And in fact, I read something during the week where Alan Sugar was saying his most successful winner, and it was Ricky Martin. And I can't remember what he did, but that is a good few series ago.
Ricky Martin, isn't he the singer?
He is a singer, but he was also a different Ricky Martin, was the winner of The Apprentice. And I can't remember what he did. It might have been recruitment. I can't remember. But it was a long while ago. So it shows you how long it's been since really there's been a decent series of people that actually can spell business.
It was recruitment consultants.
It was recruitment. Oh, I may have read it in the article and just not twigged it, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Subconsciously noticed.
Now, last episode we talked about Mr. Zamboni as one of our highlights of last year. And he sent a little message through the gram.
The gram.
He seems to have promoted himself to a doctor, though. I'm cool with that. I like the idea of how he's being morphing, a bit like the Duck Whisperer becoming Duckboy.
Duckboy.
So,
he was
Dr.
actually
Zamboni.
listening.
Yes, so I hear. Yes.
So
Dr.
nice.
Zamboni, who is alive and well, and he said he loves the father-daughter dynamic. I have two of my own. Dr. Zamboni, I know how hard that is to have two daughters.
It's not hard. I'm a delight. The other one's hard. Jokes.
Well, it's the other one's birthday today as we're recording this.
Is. I know, and I keep reminding her that she's 30 in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, some of us twice that in a few months, so just hush on that front. So, nice to hear from you, Dr. Zamboni.
Very nice.
Now, Saturday was the Horse Whisperer's birthday dinner.
Birthday dinner,
and we had a very, very pleasant meal at a pub we haven't... Well, I've never been to. I've driven past it many times, and I've never been in there. And the food was absolutely fantastic.
Incredible.
Yeah, really very, very good. And we'll definitely be going back there.
Oh, yes, please.
You came over earlier in the afternoon and you suddenly blurted out about the Earth's core spinning in the opposite direction.
I did.
So would you like to explain some of this?
Well, the only information I know is still the information I told you on Saturday. I haven't really read much further into it, other than I would like to start this by saying I don't know if it's true. I just heard it and was interested to see what other people thought. So it was more of a conversation starter than me throwing a fact out there that I thought was a fact.
I understand that.
Yes, okay. That's fine then. So I saw a video that apparently the Earth's core has started going in the other direction, which will we're still spinning the other way. So we'll start to slow our spin and then eventually spin in the other direction. But according to the video I watched, it said it happens every 60 years and it aligns with major... I can't be 60 years though, because that's not that long ago. But anyway, apparently it aligns with some major environmental, like volcanoes, tornadoes, etc. Which is why they think it's... Yeah. Oh, is it specifically earthquakes? That's
earthquakes.
good.
So, probably
my video didn't say that. It just said environmental things.
Well, it is sort of environmentally. I mean, initially when you hear it, you just go, well, that is just hokum. It's just nonsense. But it's not, actually. But not all scientists agree. So it's
when do scientists ever agree?
That's a very good question, and I can't answer that. But I think the problem with this is it's very hard to say with absolute certainty this is what happens. But this is what science is about. It's about positing something and then trying to disprove it. Mm-hmm. And maybe the earthquakes are significant in proving that this happens. So the core seems to be able to rotate completely independently of the rest of the Earth.
Yes.
And according to this article in Nature magazine, it will turn one way, slow right down, and then turn the other way. That could be every 60-ish years. It doesn't change the rotation of the Earth.
That's good then, because that would really screw us over.
Well, it would cause a few problems, I think, as it slowed down and then stopped. I don't quite know what effect that would have, but I feel it would be catastrophic.
I feel like it would be good if you were stuck in the sun. No,
it wouldn't be.
Stuck at like sunrise or sunset.
Well, half of the world would be freezing cold and very dark. Or possibly more than half, actually, which could be
I'd rather be either in sunrise or sunset. That's where I'd like to be stuck.
Somewhere between the two.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but that's not to be worried about, because that's not what happens.
No.
It's the core changing direction, which is a weird thing, and I've read a couple of articles, and I still can't quite get my head around it. It does seem a bit bonkers. What effect that has on the outside of the Earth, apart from a few earthquakes, is hard to know. But it does make you wonder about all sorts of things where we're saying this, that, or the other is happening. Well, maybe it's to do with things like this. I don't know.
You don't know, do you? Hard to work these things out.
It is, but I think the takeaway from this is if you hear something that sounds so outlandish, it can't possibly be true.
And come from your youngest daughter who tends to say things that aren't true.
Well, you must have heard it, and you don't read the Daily Mail, I don't believe. So it's, yes, likely to be.
The only reason I actually relayed the information is because I follow a TikTok account where a guy, he talks about a lot of sort of news things going on, but he is quite factual about it. And he was the one I'd learnt about the line from, which is the city that's in a big glass wall, basically. Which is why I relayed it, because actually I do think he does a lot of research into what he says. He doesn't just blurt things out that he reads. He reads a lot into them before going into it. So that's where I get my news from, really.
That was very good. Very good. As long as you back it up with a bit more research on your own, then it's as good a source as any. Will you let me do that?
Yeah, exactly. I tell you and you tell me if I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, it's good to have staff, isn't it?
Yeah. Before I go around telling it to other people. Like there's something I've been saying for years, and then I got told the other day that I was completely wrong. Oh, that tea has more caffeine in it than coffee. I've been telling people that for years. But it's not. It's a tea leaf in its natural form has more caffeine in it than a coffee bean in its natural form.
Oh, I see. Yes, that is.
So very different.
Needs a little bit more qualification.
But I'd definitely be going around saying a cup of tea has more caffeine than a cup of coffee, which is wrong.
Well, that's not right. That's not right at all. So in a slightly related topic, this is about astronomical events rather than seismic events. A couple of days ago, day before this is going out, there's been a meteorite that's passed very close to Earth. And it's about the size of a supermarket delivery truck, I believe. And it's actually between the Earth and some satellites. So it is quite a close event. And NASA and other official bodies have said if it hit the atmosphere, it will burn up. So it poses no risk whatsoever to the Earth. But it was found by an amateur astronomer, which is quite interesting. And there's also another event very soon, which is this comet that's not been seen since Neanderthal times, and will probably never be seen again because it will burn up. It will just disappear next time it comes round. So it made me wonder, what other sciences are there where amateur enthusiasts, people, play such an important role in that science? Because there's a number of this is the guy that spotted the asteroid, has spotted other things that professional astronomers hadn't seen.
Just for looking in the right place at the right time? That's
belittling it slightly, I think. But basically, yes. I've been able to recognise what it is.
Yes. Obviously, but looking and knowing.
Yes. It's looking with expertise, I guess. But over the last 30, 40 years, there's been a number of discoveries by amateur astronomers. And I don't think there's any other field that happens.
I don't think so, no. You wouldn't get an amateur walking into surgery and being like, I can do this.
No, or discover something about the human body. There may have been earlier on. So maybe it's to do with how that science has progressed.
Yes.
And interested, we know more about the stars and planets than we do about the bottom of the ocean, which is interesting. So maybe, but then getting down there is quite tricky. So cost of entering that science is very expensive compared to astronomy, which is relatively cheap. It's not.
Yeah. Have you heard the rumour about that, though?
Which one?
About why we don't look in the ocean.
No.
Because there's the rumour, because NASA was exploring the sea before the sky. Well, not the sky, the universe, the outside bit.
Presumably they weren't called NASA, though.
No, they weren't. No. But apparently the story goes that they found something so terrifying that was going to happen or emerge that they started looking for other planets for us to live on.
Really?
Yeah, that's the story. It's a load of rubbish, but it's the story.
Now, let's go back to the original point about NASA being responsible for looking in the oceans. So this claim was made in a TikTok video.
That's where I've seen it.
It is the Daily Mail of the millennials. And it's not the case at all.
Well,
there's no evidence to suggest that
they wouldn't want us panicking, would they? So they wouldn't release that.
Said like a true conspiracy theorist.
Thank you.
That's what they want you to think. That's why it happens. Anyway, so if you are going into the ocean this weekend, then there's probably nothing nasty in there apart from,
sharks.
If it's some poo if you're around the British Isles.
Yeah, and if you're in Australia, a deadly shark.
Deadly shark, yes. Oh, talking of Australia, I had a message from the Screaming Tomato.
What a good link that was.
It was, wasn't it? We don't just throw this together.
We do not.
Who's very keen to come on as a guest presenter while you're on honeymoon.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
And I was thinking how long I've known him, and actually I've known him longer than I've known you.
Wow.
I worked with him before you were born, so
impressive.
Not much more, but
it's like at least 27
before,
years.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
So he will bring his own unique talents, obscure facts. And,
it might end up being 2 episodes with the length of time I'm away.
Well, that would be very cool. I think what we'll do is probably record them in advance because of timing.
Oh, yes.
Although we do seem to have conversations early in the morning and late at night here, so it's only 12 hours apart.
Yes,
so it's not going to be
my friend that lives in Australia, although I know the different Australia's rather large, so like if they're not in the same bit, but 11 o'clock is normally a good time. 11 a.m. UK is a decent-ish time in Australia.
Couldn't possibly do it when I'm working.
Well, a weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Could do. Could do. I'm sure we can sort something out. Anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great. We haven't spoken for a very long while, but we do communicate frequently over various things.
Over the gram?
Platforms. No, not over the gram, over the book. The Facebook.
Facebook. Got you. That took me a while, that one.
Anyway, one of the reasons we've dropped down to every 2 weeks is the fact I had a record turntable in 110 pieces.
Yes.
And I'm pleased to say I have no pieces left over, although I did lose a tiny little spring.
Oh.
And it's working.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So
that's very impressive.
The first record I played was Dark Side of the Moon, which crackled and popped like a fish fryer. And so I've got a record washing thing coming in the next couple of days, which
to clean them.
Cleans them, because apparently the crackles and pops tend to be dust and dirt in the grooves.
Ah, interesting.
So it'd be interesting to see whether that comes off.
You have to play me something when I come over next.
I will do that, but I'm now keen to go buy some albums. Yeah,
yes.
So there's plenty of second-hand record shops around.
As I learnt from The Apprentice last week, you can buy Waterloo by ABBA for £1.
Yeah, I won't be buying that one.
Dancing Queen?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure what I'm going to be looking for, but it will certainly have a classical element, because I do quite like classical music, and there's something different about it on
On a
vinyl.
record.
Yeah. But one of the problems I have with it is it's got adjustable speed on it, so you set it at 33 1/3, but it's got an adjustment on it. It's got a little wheel that does delicate adjustment, but you have to get that pretty much right to begin with. It's literally turning a nut left and right. And the way I've done it before is you get a strobe disc, which you print out, put it on turntable. And the idea is when you show a light on it that's flashing on and off 50 times a second, and the speed of the turntable's right, then the lines are stationary. You don't see them move. So I did this and then realised that actually we don't have any old-fashioned light bulbs. They're all LEDs. And that didn't work at all. So fortunately, I found this old light that's in the sort of pile of stuff to go somewhere with an old-fashioned light bulb in it. And I was able to adjust it and put the record on.
You had a light bulb moment.
It was a bit of a light bulb moment, but it wasn't quite right. You could hear it was a bit slow. So I had another go and got it. I thought, that looks like it's stationary, but I'm not 100% certain. So I started looking at other things you could buy, and they're really expensive. And then I found, would you believe this, a mobile phone app. And you literally put the phone, you put the phone on the turntable.
And it sorts it out.
You press start, you start the turntable going round, and it goes around for 30 seconds or so, and then it gives you the speed.
That's impressive.
It was very, very impressive. I'm not sure it's massively precise or accurate, but it's close enough.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But
I have found there's a whole load of accessories you can buy. You can spend a fortune on.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, I was looking at this record cleaner, which is for very dirty records, called Degritter. I thought that was good. I wonder how much that is. £2,500.
Stop.
Right. Oh no.
God,
so I bought one for 35.
Oh yeah,
pounds,
that makes sense. Not 3,500.
No, not 35. No. So I have got a small pile of records here. I think there are more in the loft, but they're right at the back of the loft. But I do have a small collection here to work my way through. And then I shall be getting some oddballs, I think, starting at the charity shops in the village.
I'm sure they'll have loads. The other reason we're doing it every other week is because of my wedding. And I had a disaster this weekend.
Oh, no!
Well, it's not really, it's fine. It is fine. But we saw our florist, who I'd highly recommend, Long Acres in Bagshot, because it's super cheap. And the people there are so lovely, and they don't work on commission. So they're just kind of throwing stuff in and making suggestions, which is where the issue came in, you see. So we, for our centerpieces, have 3 different sized glass cylinders, which then have long pillar candles in of different sizes. And our florist said that we can either buy the candles through them, or we can get the candles from somewhere else and they'll put them in the vases and stuff for them on the day. So she went and got the candles to give us the pricing of theirs. And it was not silly expensive, but a lot more expensive than IKEA. And we were going for lunch at Duckboy's parents' house in the afternoon, so we thought, we've got some time to kill, let's go to IKEA and just buy the candles now. And there was a couple other things we needed for the wedding from IKEA, so went over to IKEA, bought all our candles, which is 3 candles per table, and we have 9 tables, so that's a lot of candles.
Yes,
a lot of candles.
27.
Yes, 27 candles. So yeah, all cool. Then Monday had a voicemail from the florist to say that she was really sorry. She's really looked through the thing, and they had actually included, because you pay a set amount for a centerpiece.
Okay.
And because our centerpiece was quite simple, they had included the cost of the candles in with the set price for the centerpiece, which now means we have 27 candles that we need to take back to IKEA.
I was going to say, you should be able to take them back.
Oh yeah, I hope so. We're going on Friday.
Where's your nearest IKEA?
Reading. It's only about 30 minutes. Yes, of course,
yes. Yes, I forgot there was one there.
Super close.
Wembley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So, oh well, that was a fun trip. I mean, I did need vases as well, which I bought super cute vases for the bridesmaids' bouquets to go in on the table, just give them a bit of water. £1.50 each.
I know, it is astonishing, isn't it?
Can't believe how cheap. And they're glass, like decent size, cute.
Yeah.
Loved it. It's great.
Yeah, it is astonishingly good value for money there. Talking of disasters.
Yes.
I had a phone call on, I think it was Wednesday lunchtime.
No, it was Friday.
Friday lunchtime, yes. Friday lunchtime from an unknown number, which I don't normally answer, but I thought I'd better. And this voice said, is that Nigel? I went, yes. He said, well, you don't know me. My name's Dave. Your wife's just had a bit of a bicycle accident. I went, what? She said, yes, it's outside such and such. And I went, okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. So obviously dropped everything, put some trousers on because I was still wearing pyjama bottoms.
Obviously.
And jumped in the car and ran down there. And of course, as you're going, all sorts of things are going through your mind. So when I saw her standing up from a distance, I was quite relieved.
Yes.
And she was standing at the back of a Range Rover. And as I pulled past it, I looked to my right, and I have never seen anybody covered in as much mud as she had been. So I then had to drive around a bit of a triangle to turn the car around, and I did have a little smirk to myself.
Bit of a giggle.
It was very, very funny. So what had happened, she'd been up for a gym session and cycled there and back again, which is very commendable.
Cycled there.
Cycled there and half cycled back. And as she was joining the road that feeds into the village, there's a pothole running along the white line in the middle. Wheel got caught in that, lost the balance a bit, hurtled towards the curb, hit the curb. One of the front forks snapped, which I am still absolutely amazed and slightly horrified at. And she ended up on the floor. But unfortunately, this was in the bus stop, which is sort of a combination of mud and diesel. So the stuff was horrible. It reminded me of Bosom mud. For those who don't know, Bosom is a very popular sailing dangerous area. Yeah, in Chichester Harbour, and it's the stuff that can suck you under. It's horrible, but it's just sticky and yucky. So so fortunately these bikes fold up, and obviously hers folds up even more now.
It's like a wheel. Yeah.
So one front fork broke, and the wheel came out the other side out of the drop thing, whatever it's called. So I've been on to the bike shop because we only bought these in November, and they're taking it down there on Saturday. And I said, I really, having thought about it, really shocked that the fork broke.
Snapped.
And he said, I've been in contact with the manufacturers already. Fortunately, it's a British manufacturer as well, so it's all reasonably local.
Easy.
Yeah, so hopefully. But unfortunately, the pothole comes under the category of we'll do it when we need to. So it's not because it's less than 3 centimetres.
When it gets bad enough for someone to crash into it.
Well, you would have thought that would have been enough, and it's right opposite a junction, so it's just dangerous. And I went out for a ride today, and the state of the roads is just shocking.
They're awful at the moment.
Yeah, really, really bad. And apparently there's another cold snap coming 10 days, so it'll just get worse again.
Well, she looked like Batman.
Did a bit. Fortunately, nothing broken, bruises and some scrapes, and not put off riding a bike.
No.
Which is an important thing. So it's one of those things, you have to not look at the front wheel, because if you do, you fall off, and that's exactly what happened. You sort of have to look up the road, which is quite a hard thing to do in the middle of an accident. But.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have a top tip for this week?
I do have a top tip.
Excellent.
And I need my phone so I can read out what it is, right? So my top tip is that if you're getting married, which is quite a niche group of people, I can't imagine how many people of our listeners are getting married recently. But anyway.
Well, Dr. Zamboni's daughters might be heading that way, so it could be good advice for the good doctor.
Oh, okay. So if you're getting married, you need to become a Type A bride. Type A personality bride. You don't have to be Type A all the time, because Taipei's are a lot of things. I hope I'm not this all the time, to be fair. They're self-driven and highly competitive, ambitious and goal-orientated, impatient and intolerant, aggressive and hostile, controlling and dominant, high risk of heart disease. I didn't know that was on the list. Entrepreneurial and workaholic, sense of urgency, fast-paced and too busy, motivated by challenges and easily stressed out. You have to be Taipei when you're a bride. I've come to this conclusion.
Why is that?
Because otherwise they take you out of your money. They just take money from you without even realising. Or they try to, unless you're Taipei like I am, and then you realise that they're trying to scam money out of you and you stop them.
Yeah, but that sort of implies a little bit like the introvert and extrovert thing. It implies that type Bs don't check.
Well, type Bs are a bit more like
relaxed
chill,
and easygoing,
light-hearted, more like, relaxed. So they might not be fussed.
I don't think you're many of the type As. I think possibly the first two.
I'm definitely highly competitive.
Yes, well, we all know that.
I'm not easily stressed out, though. I don't think I'm that incensed in Type A, but you do definitely want to take on some of the Type A personality traits. Like, I've made the decision to write my bridesmaids a itinerary for the Friday and Saturday.
Well, that's a very good idea. That's just good planning.
Yeah, because one of my things, right, is I don't want to be late because one of them is running late.
Yes, exactly.
Because that would stress me out. Yeah. I'd be annoyed at them.
Yes.
And we know how long some of my bridesmaids take to do their hair.
I don't. What you're saying is for the duration of being a bride, you just got to be a bit pushy.
Yeah, and don't be turned off by being called a bridezilla, because that's not a thing. It's your wedding. You do what you want to do.
Yeah.
As long as you're not mean to people.
Well, I've got another aviation-based top tip. I don't know why this has happened. It's just pure chance. Fortunately, this one is a good one. It's a happy one.
Oh, good.
Well, it may have started not very happy, actually. I haven't looked at it again. So this is 1991, and it's a Boeing 747 that was used to evacuate some Ethiopian Jews. And 1,086 people got on that plane. On a Boeing 747. So the plane that you go long distance, we used to go long distance to America, 1,086 people. But it landed with 1,088 because 2 babies were born on the flight.
Oh my God. In my head, I was like, how? Like, how are 2 more people being added to this list?
Yep.
They were like hiding
births.
and they didn't log them. 2 babies. That's mad. As in, like, one person gave birth to twins?
Oh, could be, yes. Yes, it doesn't go into detail.
That would be mind-blowing if there's 2 separate pregnant women gave birth.
Well, it could be. Yes, I thought that was quite a good fun fact. Obviously, the reason they were evacuated is not very fun.
No.
They were taken to safety. And I want to end this episode on a post I saw from Very British Problems just before we started. The reward for January ending should be summer, not February. Quite right.
Definitely.
Quite right.
That should be, we need to change that around.
That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Bye.